Welcome to the Unreal BootCamp lesson on requesting global entities by indexed ID. In the previous lesson, we created 4 global entities on the brainCloud portal that will be used in this lesson. In our Unreal example app, we're going to request a list of global entities using their indexed ID. Let's take a closer look at the getList by indexed ID brainCloud request. We can see that we need to supply the entity indexed ID and the max entities to return. Taking a look at the return JSON example data, we can see that we have an array of global entity objects that will need to be parsed. This is the same brainCloud request that we made in the Cloud Code API Explorer at the end of the previous lesson. Since we've already ran this request in the Cloud Code API Explorer, we're going to jump right into Xcode. Navigate to the constants.h file. Declare a constant for the level indexed ID. Then navigate to the level data.h file. Declare a public overloaded constructor that takes in the entity type, the entity ID, the index, and the level JSON data. Navigate to the level data.cpp file. Implement the overloaded constructor. In the body, initialize the entity type, the entity ID, and the index member variables. Then parse the level's duration and description. Parse the asteroid's min and max spawn count, the min and max spawn time, and the min and max speed. Then parse the enemy's min and max spawn count, the min and max spawn time, and the min and max speed. Loop through the number of enemies in this level and parse each enemy's type, health, and add it to the back of the enemy type's member variable. Then loop through and parse the starting asteroid types. Finally, loop through and parse the starting enemy types. Navigate to the network callback.h file. At the top, include level data.h. Declare a pair of public callback methods for requesting the list of level data global entities. Navigate to the network manager.h file. Declare a public method called request global entity level data. Then declare a pair of private callback functions. Make sure to mark the methods as a U function with the callback category. Finally, declare a private network callback handler object. This will be passed in when we make the brainCloud request. Navigate to the networkmanager.cpp file, and in the constructor, bind the private callback methods we just declared to the callback handler success and failure delegates. Scroll down. Implement the request global entity level data method. First, check to see if the user is authenticated. If the user is not authenticated, log a meaningful error message. And then, if set, invoke the callbacks on global entity level data request failed method. If the user is authenticated, invoke the brainCloud's global entity services getList by indexed ID request, passing in the level indexed ID, the max entities to return, and the address of the get global entity level data callback object as the arguments. Scroll down and implement the on global entity level data callback method. In the body, log the response data. Then declare a vector of level data objects called level data. Create a JSON reader using the JSON response data. Then declare a JSON object and using the JSON reader, deserialize the JSON data. If the JSON data was deserialized successfully, we can now start to parse the data. Get the data object from the root JSON object. Then from the data object, get the entity list array. Loop through all the elements in the entity list array. Parse the entity type and entity ID strings. Then parse the entity data object and get the level JSON data. From the data object, parse the level index value. Then parse the level JSON data. The statement that we're writing creates a level data object passing in the entity type, entity ID, level index, and the level JSON data, and adds the level data object onto the back of the level data vector. The rest of the JSON data will be parsed in the level data's overloaded constructor that we implemented earlier. Once all the global entities have been parsed, if the callback is set, invoke the callbacks on global entity level data request completed method, and pass in the level data vector as the argument. Next, implement the onGlobalEntity level data error method. Log an error message along with a JSON error, and if set, invoke the callback's onGlobalEntity level data request failed method. Navigate to the Space Shooter Game Mode base.h file. Scroll down and override the onGlobalEntity level data request completed method. Then, navigate to the Space Shooter Game Mode base.cpp file. Scroll all the way to the bottom and implement the onGlobalEntity level data request completed method. In the body, invoke the spawner's setLevelData method. Pass in a reference to the level data vector parameter. Then, set the level count member variable and loop through and set each level's duration and description. Finally, hide the connecting dialog and show the main menu. Scroll up and find the onLeaderboard request completed method. Delete the else statement and its contents. We are now hiding the connecting dialog and showing the main menu in the onGlobalEntity level data request completed method. Scroll up and find the onAuthentication request completed method. Then invoke the Network Manager's request GlobalEntity level data method. Click the Run button to build the project and launch the Unreal Editor. Once the Unreal Editor is open, run the game. From the main menu, click Horde Mode, then select Level 2. We're going to leave the playback at full speed so that we can compare it with a future playthrough. On the first playthrough, we didn't even survive half the required time. Let's head back to the brainCloud portal and make some changes to our level data. Click the Level 2 global entity. To make changes, we first need to click Edit. We aren't going to change the asteroid data, but we are going to make a few changes to the enemy data. Reduce the enemy's max spawn time, then reduce the enemy's max speed. And most importantly, we'll remove the fourth enemy type. Once that's done, click Save. Notice that Level 2's version number incremented. Let's head back into Unreal and test out the changes. Run the game and select Level 2 again. Again, we'll leave the playback at full speed so that we can compare it to the previous playthrough. Playing through Level 2, we may have made it too easy, but that's okay because we can always go back to the brainCloud portal and tweak our level data at any time. How to set up user statistics is the next lesson in the Unreal BootCamp.